Hello, class. What is going on? What is happening? Dr. Mayo here. This is office hours call for our before our first test. I hope you're all ready. I'm back at the coffee shop, and I just wanted to make sure that we're all on the same page with this exam that's coming up. So before I even get there, let's start with the assignments. I've graded your energy expenditure assignments, and for the most part, they look pretty good. There were several of you who made some common mistakes, and let me just talk about those real quickly. One is when you're doing the math, you only need to, the first thing you do is you use the equation to estimate energy needs. That's either using Harris-Benedict or the Cunningham equation. I know that some of you used several other methods for your assignment. Just know on the test, you will have to use the Harris-Benedict and the Cunningham equation. I mean, there will be no option. I will give you the equations. You don't have to memorize them, but those are the equations that we'll use. And again, there are a bunch of different equations or ways to do this. Some of you use calories per kilogram per day, and that's fine. But the way dietitians do it, in most cases, is using one of the equations and then using an activity factor. Some of you didn't use an activity factor. You used, you just estimated how many calories they burn. And you can do that. But on an exam, I'm going to give you the equation, and I'm also going to give you the activity factor. So you're going to have to know how to do it in that method. Does that make sense? So I've got a couple of you here live. Just make sure in the chat that you can hear and see me okay. And if you have questions, just pop those in the chat and I can answer them as we go. And maybe I should make sure that the chat's working. I'll just type in, let's get started. Okay, just to make sure we're all good. And the other thing that I saw as you were doing your calculations, remember there are three parts, and this is going to help you for the test as well, because when we talk about energy balance, right, you got calories in, calories out. Obviously, calories in are coming from the foods and the drinks that you consume that have calories in them. But then the calories out, that's related to your total energy expenditure. So you have your metabolic rate, which just counts as most of it, 60 to 70% of your total energy expenditure is coming from metabolic rate. But then you also have your activity factor, you have physical activity, and then you have the thermal effect of food. So, and some dietitians really don't even count the thermal effect of food because it is only like 10% above resting metabolism. But I do, because hey, let's give athletes, let's give folks more calories. So again, it's just a place to start, but I'm giving you 10% more. So I always use that. So there are three components. So you're going to calculate the metabolic rate using one of the equations. And remember, that's not total energy expenditure. You didn't have to factor in activity, and then you have to factor in thermal effect of food. And how do you do that? Well, so you calculate the metabolic rate. That's step one. And I think I've shown you this in all the videos on how to do that. Step one, calculate metabolic rate. So you come up with that number of calories. This is the calories that they're burning at rest doing absolutely nothing. Then the next step is to factor in activity. And so you have an activity factor that ranges anywhere from 1.2 to 1.3 all the way up to 2, maybe a little over 2. So let's just say it's 1.5. So you would take that metabolic rate times 1.5, and that gives you the calories after activities factored in. Some of you actually went and you added back in the metabolic rate to that. You don't have to do that when you're calculating the three components. Once you factor in activity, that number that you get is the only number you need to add. And what do you add that to? Well, you add that to the thermal effect of food. So you take their metabolic rate, you multiply it by 0.1, and that will give you it's usually a couple hundred calories. And then you add that to what you just calculated with their physical activity. And you add those together, and that gives you your total energy expenditure. So I hope that helps. I think that's where I saw a couple of people going wrong, is they either didn't use the Harris-Benedict or Cunningham equations. And remember, when you to use the Cunningham equation, you've got to know their percent body fat, because the Cunningham equation uses their weight of the amount of fat-free mass. So you have to know their percent body fat. If I don't give you percent body fat, then you can't calculate energy expenditure with the Cunningham equation. Okay, so that's the first thing, is the calculation. And by the way, let me say this: there are no energy expenditure calculations on the first test. There will be energy expenditure calculations on test 2 and test 3, but there will be no energy expenditure calculations on the first test. Will there be calculations? Yes, there will be, but they're basic calculations around, the number of calories in a food product, or the percent of calories in that product, or something along those lines. It won't be energy expenditure. All right. Hopefully that clears that up. So you finished that assignment, and the next assignment that's due tomorrow night is the energy systems chart. And the energy systems chart is just designed to help you think through the 3 energy systems and know that based on the sport and the activity, one or more of these, in particular, one energy system will be the predominant. And some of them that there's a little more difficulty in kind of teasing that out, but on a test, I will give you the energy, the activities will be pretty clear. If it's football, it's going to be ATP PC system or phosphagen system. If you're doing one lap around a track, then it's going to be the glycolytic system. Right? If you're doing anything over several minutes, then it's going to be the aerobic. And so what you're doing on the chart is you're going on an all-out effort. Like if you're a football, if it's football, or if it's maybe I give you some baseball or softball activities where you're running to first base, or you're catching a fly ball, or maybe you're dunking a basketball, whatever it is. I mean, that only takes a matter of seconds, but it's an all-out effort. So then the energy you would be using really is coming from creatine in that case. And you're splitting that creatine phosphate molecule to get the energy you need. And the effort is all out, right? It's very high. So I think that's one of the things you do. You pick the system, you pick the fuel that you're using, and then you also choose the intensity. And again, I'm really more interested in that you understand the system and making a choice. And some of them are more difficult. Like I think I give you MMA. And if you're familiar with that sport, it's a 5-minute round, which you might think is aerobic, but the activity is it's very intense. So it's more of an anaerobic sport. You need all 3, but it's more anaerobic than it is aerobic. And again, I'm not going to really critique you too hard, just as long as you give me one of these anaerobic energy systems, right? So you're either talking ATP phosphocreatine system, or you're talking the glycolytic system where you're using carbohydrate. And just remember around this, if you're using it's an anaerobic, like you're using glycolysis, remember that carbohydrate is the only nutrient that you can break down anaerobically. When we talk about breaking down fat for energy, when we talk about breaking protein down for energy, if we need it, that's done aerobically. And so that's when you get to one of those questions like, hey, it says a 10K run or something. I'm just making this up. That's going to be an aerobic system activity. It's going to use carbohydrate and fat. And then it's usually going to be a moderate to lower intensity activity. Okay, relatively speaking, right? Versus getting under a bench press and doing a 1 rep max, right? That's all out effort. So just know that. And then, so with carbohydrate, it's the only nutrient can be broken down anaerobically. But then when we talk about aerobic activity, you're going to be using carbohydrate and fat. And so that's what you would put in your sheet. And I think I do this. I think I give you a whole video on this, on going over that. So make sure you watch this, because the reason I'm giving you this is there will be 2 sets of matching questions on the test. One of the matching questions will be around the energy systems, and I'll give you a list of energy systems. I'll give you a list of activities, and you have to tell me, is it ATP phosphocreatine system? Is it the glycolytic system, or is it the aerobic system? So you will have to choose which system works and goes with each activity. And they'll be really clear. And there may even be several questions just in the true false or in the multiple choice that will ask about energy systems as well. All right. And I haven't gotten any questions from folks in your emails. So it's a little concerning when I don't get some feedback and questions around that. Yeah, so Peyton says she joined a couple minutes late. I'm sorry if you've already mentioned this, but there any form study guide for the exam. So how do you study for the exam? That's a great question, Peyton. Let's talk about how to study. So and yeah, I would encourage you to go back and watch the beginning of this, because we talked about the two assignments. You did the energy expenditure assignment, then your tomorrow night's the energy systems chart assignment. Oh, and don't forget, tomorrow night also all your quizzes are due. For some of you who like to use the quizzes to study, remember tomorrow night is going to they're going to close. So just know that, because what's going to happen is on tomorrow at 8 a.m. the exam will open, and the exam will be, it's a 100-point exam, and it's going to open at 8 a.m. tomorrow, and it closes at noon on Friday. Make sure you're aware of that. So you have all day tomorrow to take it. But as well, you've got the energy systems chart, you've got all your quizzes there's only 3. You got your quizzes to take. Now remember, with the quizzes, you have 2 attempts to take these, and it's an open book thing. The exams are a different animal. The exams, you will use a Respondus lockdown browser. You will use your webcam and show your area. So just know that. But Peyton's question about how to study. What I would suggest is to go back and watch my videos, as many of them and as much of them as you can. And then what you do is, if I talk about it in the video, then you go back and you look at it in the chapter. So that's how I would study, because here's the reality. I can only give you, there's going to be about 60 questions on this test. I'm treating this as if you were coming into a class on a Tuesday, Thursday, and it's an hour and 15-minute class. So you have an hour and 15 minutes. And so that's how I would study, is watch the videos, which is a little concerning. I'll just be honest that I haven't seen more views, because with YouTube, I can actually check pretty easily to see how many folks have watched my videos. And it's pretty low right now. I'm hoping that's going to increase over the next day or so, because this is not an easy test. I'm just going to be flat out with you. Taking an online class for me is a challenge, in that you don't get me face to face. You're not able to interact. I don't challenge you with questions like I normally would in a face-to-face class. And you've got to be a go-getter. Okay, so if you're not going and getting it, and you think you're just going to show up to this exam and do well, it's not going to happen. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just showing you and telling you the reality of it. So watch the videos. And if I'm talking about a concept in the videos, then you can go back into the chapter. There is a study guide. I don't think I have the module open, but it's for the comprehensive exam at the end. So just know that. Study guide, it's everything that's in the videos. But the problem is, there's only 60 questions. I only put 60 questions on a test. You don't want me to put 100 questions. On a comprehensive exam at the end, yes, there'll be close to 100 questions. But on a regular test, I'm only going to put 60, and that's the challenge. So just know that. But with the quizzes, they're a good way to study. They're going to be similar. They won't be the same as what you see on a test, but it'll give you the style and the idea. On a test, the test is going to be multiple choice and true false. And there is going to be some matching. You'll do matching around the energy systems, and I'm telling you this. They're matching around the energy systems. You will also do matching around the fiber types, which is what we're finishing up. The last part of the energy systems chapter talks about muscle fiber types and understanding slow twitch and fast twitch, and understanding that the slow twitch is a more aerobic fiber, right? And understand what the characteristics of aerobic fiber and a slow twitch fiber are. Understand the characteristics of a fast twitch and we have a fast twitch. You have 2 different fast twitch fibers, a fast twitch A and a fast twitch X, right? So just know those different fiber One is I call it a FOG, fast oxidative glycolytic, where it has some ability to use oxygen, but not much. It's still, these fast twitch fibers are anaerobic, right? These are better for sprinting and doing high intensity efforts, but they, versus the slow twitch fiber, and this is what you'll need to know for a test, is that, the slow twitch fibers are more aerobic. They're hard to fatigue. And I give you examples of this in the video in the trainings, versus the fast twitch fiber. They're able to produce a lot more energy and power and do it quickly, but they're very fatigable. Okay. So again, you can go back and look at the lessons on that. All right. So let's see. Any other questions? Please type them in the chat. On the test, it's an hour and 15 minutes. I think I've said that. Around 60 questions. You will use Respondus. There is no open book. This is not an open book test. I will go back and look, because you will be monitored on this test. I will go back to check, and Respondus flags people who are not in the camera range. If you're over here, or I've had students, and I'll just call you out on this, because you got to be in the camera frame, and you can't be looking to the right every 15 seconds. Okay, that's a dead giveaway. So just know that. I will go back and watch these. And Respondus flags kind of odd behavior when you're taking your exam. You can have a calculator, because there will be some basic calculations on the test, and I'm okay with that. You can have a scratch sheet of paper. It obviously has to be blank. But again, there will be no calculations on the first test. None, no energy expenditure calculations on the first test. So that's really what I wanted to jump on and talk about. And then what will happen on Friday is I will open up the next module. The next material will be open. And so videos will be uploaded, and I've already uploaded them, but I haven't released them yet on YouTube here. And then the assignments will be released and everything. You should be able to see already the calendar. If you click on the calendar, it should show you what's coming up past the first test. But I don't want us to focus on that. I want us to focus on doing the best you can on this first test. And not to scare you, but the first test is probably the easiest test, because this is stuff you probably should already know. The nutrition basics. You should know what a carbohydrate is. You should know what a monosaccharide is. You should know glucose, right? When I say glucose, that it's a monosaccharide. I mean, you should know that there are 3 monosaccharides. You should know the exercise training principles, right? You should know what specificity is, and progressive overload, and reversibility, and some of these concepts, right? You should understand the American College of Sports Medicine, American Heart Association guidelines around exercise. You should understand the health-related components of fitness. I know I'm going over these real fast, but these are just some concepts that you should know being a senior student in nutrition or exercise science. So yeah. Any other questions? This is what I want to do with these live calls. It's here for you. And if you are having trouble and you want to jump on a one-on-one Zoom call, I'm happy to do that. But this is why I want to help. I just want to be here to support you. I want you to feel supported. But again, I can't do it for you. And I'm just giving you fair warning that these tests are tests. It's to test what you know. If you earn an A in this class, then it means 90% of the material. That's a lot. Okay, that's a lot. Any other questions or general concepts that you want to know more about? I don't, again, want to hold you. Yes, or should we just review the live stream? Well, you can review the live streams. You can review any of this, but I would start with I've got them listed by modules. What should we already know? Are the questions on the exam going to be from the videos, from what we should know, or from the videos mainly? Well, yeah, I mean, they're going to be concepts from the videos. So and that's the reason I'm telling you, if I don't talk about it in the video, it's probably not going to be in the exam. So start with the videos. I'm making these videos for a reason. This is me as if I was teaching it live in class. I'm telling you the most important points, the most practical, important points. So yes, yeah, no, you're good. You're good. But that's the reason. Go back, watch the videos, and take notes if you haven't taken notes already. And from the videos, the concepts, go to the book. And in the book, in these chapters, then that's where you should focus your time. And it'll get a little easier when we get into chapters 4, 5, and 6, because these are on the exercise and nutrition guidelines for exercise, and those are pretty clear. Some of the stuff that I even cover, like the book doesn't do a good job in chapter 1, which I call the nutrition and exercise basics. I think they do mention the training principles, but they don't really go in depth. And so there's a lot of stuff maybe in that first chapter. I think they talk about like organizations, and I'm not focused on that. I want you to know, what a carb, fat, and a protein is. I want you to know that you need, 45 to 65% of your calories from carbohydrate. You need 10 to 35% of your calories from protein. You need 20 to 35% of your calories from fat. Those are the things you need to know. You need to know that, hey, amino acids are what are put together to form a protein. You need to know that there are 20 of them, right? 9 are essential. These are basic concepts that you should have learned in like your foundations of nutrition class. You need to know fat. There are 3 different types of fats, and the fat we use for energy, when we talk about burning fat, using fat for energy, that's a triglyceride. That's not a phospholipid, and that's not a sterol. Those are the other types of fats. They're important. Fats do a lot of important things for us, but it's the triglycerides that provide the body with energy. And then the fact we don't use protein much for fuel unless we have to. Like right now in a fed state, you're probably using, 5 to 10% of your calories from protein, not much. Okay, pretty negligible. Yep. So again, I don't want to keep you, but if you do have questions, reach out. Tomorrow the test will open, and you've got all the assignments, your energy system chart, and your quizzes due. And again, the way this works is, hey, I'm helping put everything out for you. If you don't take the quizzes, if you don't turn in the assignment, you just get a 0 and we move on to the next module. It's kind of how this works. So do not forget those chapter quizzes. All right. With that being said, I will probably send out an email in the morning just to remind you that, hey, the test is open. You've got all day tomorrow and till Friday at noon to take it. And because I don't want this going later into the evening and then me getting emails on a Saturday that, hey, my internet didn't work or whatever. So I'm capping it at noon tomorrow. So you got a day and a half. That's pretty flexible. So, and if you take it at 2 a.m. tonight, that's fine. Just know if you start tomorrow at 11:30 to take your exam, then what ends up happening is this, the respondents, it auto submits. Blackboard auto submits. So if you're still taking your exam and it hits noon on Friday, then what ends up happening, it just auto submits. So don't let that happen. Get your test started early, get it done, and then let's move on. Do the best you can on the test and feel good about it. All right? All right. Well, y'all have a great rest of your day. Let me know if you have questions, and good luck. Bye.